Okay, so I had to think for a while who I wanted to pit Becky Lynch against. I thought about Eve Torres, I thought about Jazz, and I was like, you know what? They're really trying to build Becky Lynch, build a SmackDown brand around her. She was the first woman drafted to SmackDown Live. And ironically, in the early 90s, Vince was trying to actually kind of build a division around Alundra Blayze. Where they actually brought in, Bull Nakano. They brought in some decent wrestlers to have her take on. Now, if you think women's wrestling in the East started off really hot and then just petered out and then came back, watch her win, Alundra Blayze win the women's title. Watch her win the tournament. Watch Alundra Blayze matches on the network with Vince McMahon and Macho Man Randy Savage doing commentary. And they're like, the interaction is hot and the women are hotter. It's like, oh. Yeah, it started out rough, got kind of good, then we had the Divas era where it got really rough, and now it's back to where it should be. So Alundra Blayze did fantastic work as Medusa, where she wrestled overseas, did a good amount of time to also in WCW. She was part of the Dangerous Alliance. She was the first Paul Heyman girl. Spent a lot of time in Japan, learned Muay Thai, kickboxing, regular boxing. When she left professional wrestling, she then became a monster truck driver. Yes. It looked pretty good in the Evolution Battle Royal. And Becky Lynch, I don't need to describe Becky Lynch. She is arguably one of the most complete female wrestling packages that they currently have in the WWE. She's the Irish Lass Kicker. She's the person that SmackDown Live originally tried to build themselves around for a brand. She is a 2-time SmackDown Women's Champion. She is ironically the only woman of the 4 Horsemen of NXT to not have been NXT Champion. So, right into this. Strength. I give the edge there to Alundra Blayze, and this is because around the time Blayze was wrestling, they did a good job being like, you're taking on Bertha Faye, who is a significantly larger woman. You're taking in Bull Nakano, significantly larger woman. So they would have Alundra Blayze do slams. They would have Alundra Blayze, one of her finishers was a German suplex. So she would German suplex someone like Bull Nakano. Becky Lynch would have to effectively be able to do those sorts of moves to, let's say, Nia Jax. But she doesn't. That's just not the way she currently wrestles. So Alundra Blayze would definitely be a stronger opponent. Another odd piece is she'd actually be faster. Alundra Blayze, since she did take on larger opponents, she just came up overall faster in the ring. Becky Lynch is a lot more methodical in the way that she does things. Even when she was a face, she normally didn't have a lot of speed moves. She was normally a lot more of, I'm going to get a hold of you, work a body part, beat you down. Endurance. I'm going to give this to Becky Lynch. She's actually had longer matches. If you go through and watch Alundra Blayze in the WWE, a lot of the matches are sub 10 minutes. If you go watch her time as Medusa in WCW the second time, she's having matches that are a little over 10 minutes. She wrestled a lot longer matches over in Japan, but Becky Lynch just overall has a much longer match mentality. Toughness. Again, notwithstanding the last woman standing match that we just had at Evolution, the overall style of matches that Alundra Blayze worked just looked a lot more vicious. When it came to the way that they would do a lot of the fighting, it looked a lot more impactful. But it also had the ability to have, if you're not working like a 10-15 minute match, you can do a lot more high impact moves because the match itself just isn't going to go as long. Striking. Hear me out. Hear me out. The one true weakness that Becky Lynch has in her overall repertoire is her striking. Her forearms, they look decent. Her kicks look kind of off. You can tell that she is more experienced in stage fighting, Where Alundra Blayze has done a lot more actual, like, Muay Thai. She's done a lot more legitimate fighting. So when you watch it, the old Alundra Blayze matches, when she's doing a forearm shot, it looks vicious. And you just don't quite see that from Becky Lynch. Grappling, I knew it to Becky Lynch. While Alundra Blayze does use a lot of moves, I mean, she had a really beautiful Northern Lights and a really good German suplex, as well as slams. She doesn't have the different styles of suplexes. You know, you're seeing more belly to backs from Becky Lynch, belly to bellies, half and half overheads, exploding suplexes. Becky Lynch really truly does a lot more suplexing. She does a lot more of that style. And submissions, you know, Becky Lynch is going to take your arm. That's what she does. Her style is slam you on the ground, keep you on the ground, and then fight for a submission. Which, you know, it's a good style to have. It works well. Alundra Blayze, she did suicide dives. You're seeing top rope missile drop kicks. You're seeing the occasional moonsault. She actually did high flying. Ironically, she's very much kind of what we see Charlotte Flair doing now. So Charlotte Flair and Alundra Blayze are almost cut from the exact same cloth when it comes to the overall size and their athleticism. Over with the crowd. Even though Becky Lynch is portrayed as a heel, the crowd's going to love her. Period. Just accept it, move on. Why? She tells a great story. And from the accent to the way she carries herself to how well she did being the Sting for a long time, she was a fantastic babyface. You told Daniel Bryan, like, if doing the right thing always fails, why do I do the right thing? And it was those great babyface moments that she just knows how to get the crowd invested in her. Ring psychology. I don't know what it is about Becky. When in her current heel role, she changed all her facial expressions. You can tell that she actually has acting chops in the background. She knows how to sell the disappointment. When she lost the title to Alexa Bliss in a tables match, and she was just, I lost to her? When she did the La Luchadora stuff, and she lost that cage match, she was like, who is this? Mickey James? I just can't win. I just cannot win. And that's what makes her so good at what she does. And then finally, mic work. The problem with when Alundra Blayze was in the WWE, the crowd actually popped for her. Like, Vince actually thought that she could easily become one of the centerpieces of his company. The steroid scandal is, you know, a lot of his big guys were gone. He was trying something vastly different. Women's wrestling had gained some of a popularity. She tried to capitalize on it. Alundra Blayze was able to kind of call her own shots and bring in a lot of talent she wanted to work with. But they weren't given time to really progress on the ring as well as they should have been. So her ring psychology always kind of suffered there. Her mic work, it was the standard, like, early 90s babyface promos. It really wasn't until she went to WCW, dropped the title in the trash, that she really turned a significant amount of heads. I mean, you know, she was always solid, but she needed that moment. That was a great catalyst moment. But then if you watch her run in WCW, yeah, she was a cruiserweight champion. Wrestled some guys every now and then. But she was not portrayed to the physical caliber that she actually is fully capable of doing. Which is kind of sad. It also makes you think back, too, that had Vince not abandoned the women's division in the early 90s, how different things would have been. Had he invested more into women's wrestling, could he have made that a service to WWE? Could it actually become, you know, sort of World Wrestling Entertainment? Could have been, you know, World Women's Entertainment or Women's World Wrestling Entertainment. You know, there's a lot more that he really could have done with that. There was enough talent out there that he really could have mined and probably done a fantastic job. It would have been like what WCW did with the cruiserweights. You find talent from all over the world, throw them in every now and then, do some exciting matches, get the crowd going. They could have done the same thing with Alundra Blayze. Just Vince's market kind of turned, and he abandoned women's wrestling for a couple of years to try to effectively save the company and move forward. So if these two were to lock horns, I do think that Alundra Blayze has a significant physical advantage. But I think when it comes to a lot of the other advantages we've seen professional wrestling, specifically being the character work, the mic work, the ring psychology, I think Becky Lynch has it. With the right amount of force behind Becky Lynch, she could easily become one of the biggest women's professional wrestling stars, period.